What's going on, everybody? Back at it here on the Six Rings King Show, joined by Danny Gillette and Vish. As always, um, Blue has taken a sabbatical. No, I'm just kidding. He was actually doing a big national show, and it got pushed back a couple hours. So he's gonna try to make it on later. But listen, when you got the goat on your show, you gotta kind of just play to his schedule, really, right? It's not our schedule; it's the goat schedule. So maybe he will be on with us later. Maybe he won't. Maybe we'll have some other guests. Maybe we won't. Surprise guest for you. We'll see what we can shake up here on the six ring.
People are saying we might have some surprise guests.
Yeah, people are saying that's it'll be fun though. Anyways, DJ Vish, 10 days away, baby. 10 days away for Canes football, but really it's about 3 days away from college football popping off, right? As I guess look, your team, your boys get set to battle over in Ireland, right?
Yep, 12:30 p.m.
Yeah, I'm sure you're pretty excited about that. As anybody who watches the show knows that DJ does cover a little bit of Big Ten football in Nebraska. So
and buys their merch apparently. So
and buys their merch. Yeah, he does. We'll never let you live that one down.
I do.
But yeah, real quick. I mean, Danny, I'll start off with you, man, because obviously, the Big Ten obviously gets it going this week, week 0. Are you excited about college football? Talk to me a little bit about what I guess you can give us a little Northwestern Nebraska preview there about it. Talk to us, man.
Well, I definitely am excited. I mean, it feels like last season ended just yesterday, and already we're back at it. I mean, Nebraska and Northwestern, a Big Ten foes, Big Ten rivalry of sorts. It should be a very good game, with the exception of last year. Northwestern has played Nebraska fairly closely, so I'm excited to see what happens, and I'm just excited because it means college football is finally back. I love having my Saturdays filled with college football, and I just love to see all the newcomers and star players. Who's going to break out this year? Who's going to be the, breakout star? Who's going to make all the exciting plays? It's back. We're finally back.
To me, look, I know a lot of people love the NFL and they love NBA basketball and this, that. For me, it's college football, man. It's the most exciting time of the year. Vish, I know you're more of a college football guy also, so you love this time of year. But as much as we love our Hurricanes, like I will sit there and I'll watch a game that's completely irrelevant to anything. I don't root for any of the teams, but like it'll be like Bowling Green against Miami of Ohio, and I'll watch that game just because I want to see some of the guys that are on that team that could potentially be superstars at the next level. It's just fun to me, man. The atmosphere, the way they play, the excitement, the energy that college football brings. It's one of a kind. It really is.
Yeah, and I don't know if I'm mentally ready yet. It's like that close. I'm like, man. All of a sudden, it's not all of a sudden. It's been a long time.
It's gonna sneak up on us, man.
Yeah, it sneaks up on you from like 7 or 8 months away. But it's just like it's such an intense. Basically, 3 months we're about to enter. Oh man, it's the best time of year.
It's the best time of year.
And like you said, there's always like, I mean, I hate to bring this up, but as crappy as Florida State was last year, they got one over on us. That's the beauty of college football. You don't get that in like the NBA. Ooh, we won an upset and we won 13 games. No one cares, right? You get these rivalries that like actually matter to the fans on a deeper level, and that's what makes it exciting. So you're right. You can watch a game that, like I know Pitt and West Virginia, I think, is their opener. Like that's a big rivalry they haven't been playing. I don't actually really care who wins that game, but it's going to be exciting to watch it anyway.
But you know what? Being a Hurricanes fan, you're like, all right, let's see what Keaton Slovis does. Let's see what those guys at Pitt do, because we're going to play them, obviously, at the end of the year. And they are a top 25 program. So, let's see. Are they good enough? And then so what we can do is, as typical Hurricanes fans, is we're going to, not me, not you, probably not DJ, but a lot of people are going to go to the boards and be like, Pitt sucks, bro.
I mean, I'm this close to just being like, we're winning every game by 30. I don't know what you guys are talking about. So I'm in that. That's the phase of like getting ready for the season I'm in right now. So, now's not a good time for that.
Yeah, I'm at a point that if anybody asks me, hey, Jazz, what do you think the Canes are going to do? I go, national championship. That's it. Get away from me.
We're losing again. What are we talking about? Like, this is it, man. I hope you enjoyed the end of last season.
Oh, man. Well, look, speaking of excitement, before we talk about our sponsor, we got to talk about this, right? We got to talk about Vish is excited. I don't know if any other Canes fans are excited, but and we posted it really quick. We won't spend too much time on it. We just want to get Vish's ridiculous take on this. But Gino DiMare, head baseball coach for the Miami Hurricanes, was extended today. So that's big news, big breaking news today, up until 2026, a 3-year extension for the head honcho over at Mark Light Fields. How do you feel about that, Vish?
So let me tell you guys a little story about how my day went.
God.
so this thing comes out, and of course it's our fans, so we tend to skew a little negative, just a tad bit. So they extended Gino for 3 years to 2026, and immediately, like the sleeping Canes baseball fans that like turned their brain off after we blew the regional wake back up and just shouting, "This is horrible, stupid!" Adding Radakovich and being like, "You screwed up. This is your first mistake." And
I saw that. Yeah.
And I'm sitting here like, it was the right decision. So I defended it, and then now they started on my app. So my afternoon has been my mentions just being like, "What are you talking about? We suck." And
why do you think it's the right decision, though?
So yeah, let me walk through that a little bit. So the reason as I mentioned, it's a 3-year extension to get him to 2026. So that gives him a 4-year contract. It's not like they out-goldened him where we're losing to BC at home and getting blown out to go 5-7. He's already got a 5-year contract, and they added 4 more to it, which is something that really happened. In the middle of the game, they announced it. Yeah. That's a real thing. This is kind of almost the opposite. He's entering the last year of his contract. You can't have him coach like as a lame duck. That's not good for anyone. It's going to kill recruiting. So you either fire him or you extend him. And I'm sorry, as bad, and Jazz and I, you know how much energy we put into that baseball team, and then to watch it flop like that at the end of the year was certainly disappointing. You got to look at the overall 4 years. And while it's not been great, it's certainly better than the 2 years before he came in. And it is headed in the right direction, which is why this year was so disappointing. Like, that team should have gone to Omaha. But you would not have said that about the team when he came in. So overall, I have concerns about how much roster turnover we seem to have every year. I have concerns about how we perform in the postseason. They're legitimate concerns, but are those fireable at this point? No. So, like, if the argument is you should just let him coach out the last year of his contract, I think that's a terrible idea. So if you haven't decided to fire him, to me, you make that move and you extend him. And it was a reasonable extension. It was 3 years to get him to 4 total. That is not something ridiculous. Like, they gave him like a 10-year or something. I'd be like, what are you doing? Or, like I said, if he already had a lot of years left and they just added more, that would be a problem. But they literally, I think one of the things that this might say, and I know this is a risky thing to say given that, you know, we all know the DiMare family connections, and like that new scoreboard came from somewhere, right? I mean, like, so maybe there's no way he would get fired, but the fact that they let him coach with only 2 years left, I think he did have to prove something last year. And overall, despite how it ended, I mean, they exceeded expectations right up until they flopped that regional. We didn't think they were going to be a national seed.
Yeah, that was still a bit of a surprise, even though obviously.
Yeah, it ended poorly. So the question is, do you fire him for 2 one-run losses?
Right.
No. Okay, then what do we do? What are we actually arguing about? That he's ultimately going to not win a championship here and take us to Omaha? That might be the case.
Well, I think the argument is that you've seen this story before plenty of times. You've seen the way it's been written plenty of times. You've seen them have, you know, not only recently, but, you know, there's been other times where we were ranked on. I guess we were at some point, weren't we ranked the number 1 team in the country with Yonder when Yonder was here, and some of those cats were here, and that team had the same issues, right? They kind of faltered down the stretch.
I mean, that team went to Omaha, so and that was
if that team didn't make it to Omaha, then
that was the best. They were the best. I mean, that was one of these situations where we didn't have a lot of pitching depth. That was in 2008, and the first game against.
Did we have a lot of pitching depth this time? I mean, I know we.
No, but it wasn't the pitching that ended up causing it. But no, we didn't. So, but 2008, we didn't have a lot of pitching depth. We were the number 1 team in the country going into. We were the overall number 1 seed.
Right.
Went through the regional supers, got to Omaha first game. We were winning in the 9th inning, and then actually. This might be a little familiar, but we're closing the game out in the 9th inning, and Carlos Gutierrez made an error. First error he ever made as a pitcher. They grounded it back to me, airmailed it to first with 2 outs, so the game was over. Georgia won, so then we had to play out the losers bracket. We won a game. We knocked FSU out, so at least there was that. But yeah, that one, that team should have won the championship. That team was loaded. It wasn't just Yonder. That team had a bunch. Yasmani was like batting.
Yeah, it's like the first one I remember was Yonder.
But but like that team was good. So the one that really stands out for me in terms of Gino's tenure is that 2000 team, because that had the pitching. That had three pitchers that would have been the ace on this year's team. I feel like this team,
the 2020 team.
2020. What did I say?
Yeah, 2000 team.
Oh.
2000 team was really good, by the way.
But, that was the year in between the two championships.
In between the two championships, it was still really good.
but anyway, yeah. So to me, overall, is the program? Are there worrying signs? Yes, but is it overall better off than when he came in? Yeah. So if you're not going to fire him, I'd rather him have more years. As long as, and I think, the way we're seeing the athletic department trending, if they're willing to eat, like let's say we don't make a regional this year where we stink, they got to be willing to eat those 3 years and be like, all right, we got to make a move.
Right. Which
they've been spending money. So I'm not really worried about that. To me, the concern with that would be more the political aspect than anything else. But the contract extension has nothing to do with that.
Well, here's what I think. Bottom line is, the team can recruit, right? That staff could definitely recruit, as they typically have some of the top 5 recruiting classes in the country, regardless of whether half the guys get signed to pro contracts or not. They did it again this year. They had the number 1 recruiting class going into 2023. Yeah, 2023. So I think that they're going to be fine when it comes to talent. There is some turnover with some of the guys leaving, some guys entering the transfer portal. But at the end of the day, that coaching staff is going to have to figure out a way to produce in clutch times, in the clutch scenarios. And that's the only problem that we're having. But listen, before we've got a surprise guest. We've got a great guest on the show, someone who I know pretty well, and someone who I know that Canes fans are constantly monitoring every single day to find out what's going on the show. And this came out as a surprise, so we truly appreciate it. We're going to bring him on. Forget about as a matter of fact, we were talking baseball. This is a perfect time to bring in this guy. Friend of the program, Mr. Johnny Ruiz, is actually on the show with us. What's going on, Johnny? How are you, man?
I'm good. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, we're good.
We can hear you
right,
good,
awesome.
man.
Yeah, I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Good.
Long time.
Absolutely, definitely, man. Thank you for coming on the show. It's funny because we were just talking about Gino's extension for another 3 years with the program, and obviously, there's a lot of fans that are, talking down the extension. Vish, as he just mentioned, he's a fan of the extension. I think it's warranted based off of how he performed as a coach. Number 6 national seed. They did falter down the stretch for many reasons. But listen, I mean, if there's anybody that deserved it, it was definitely Gino, just based off of what he's done with that team. And I know there's going to be question marks, like always. You played under Gino for a little while. Talk to us a little bit, real quick, before we get into what everybody obviously wants to talk about. But your experience being coached by Gino DiMare.
Yeah, so Gino was the hitting coach when I was there at Miami. He's obviously very passionate about the school, passionate about the program, and making sure it's the best in the country. And again, look, he's done a good job in the regular season, I think, of making the most out of what his roster has been. I think he's also learning to become a head coach. That's something that I think is maybe a little bit different than when you're an assistant, right? Like, he has control of the entire program. He can kind of do what he wants now, where before, Jim Morris and other coaches had kind of been able to implement what they wanted. So, I think the best is still ahead of Gino. I think he really cares about the program, which is the biggest thing, and he wants to see it succeed more than anyone. So when you have somebody that cares that much about it and that wants to see it succeed, I think they're in a good spot. I think the roster does need a little bit of an upgrade in certain key positions, but for the most part, I think they've recruited well. It's just a matter of kids performing to the level that they're supposed to, right? So, they're a top 10 seed last year. It just didn't work out in the playoffs. I mean, look at Tennessee with the loaded roster they had. They didn't make it very far either. So, it's tough, man. I went to Omaha twice. I was fortunate enough to have very good teammates and very good coaching staff. So Gino knows what it takes to get there. He's been there. It's just a matter of them putting together the right roster and getting the right chemistry and making it happen. So I really don't think that they're that far away. They just need to step up in the playoffs, and that's the biggest thing that when I was there that I noticed is when the playoffs start, when it's ACC tournament, when you're at home hosting a regional, the game changes a little bit. Guys are pitching you a little bit differently, and you got to be able to respond and you got to be able to react. And that's why I'm a big believer in the high school baseball sort of here in South Florida. When you have guys that played baseball here in South Florida that then play at Miami, there's just a different level of competition here that when you're competing against Florida Christian and Westminster Christian and Gulliver when they were up at their prime, and you even have Braddock and a lot of these other schools that produce talent year in and year out. It's just a different atmosphere that you're competing with, and it really prepares you for that college, at least the playoff experience. I think there's a huge correlation, and that's something that a lot of the kids maybe from other places don't get to experience as much.
Good point.
So you actually kind of echoed some of my argument there that this feels like it's going in the right direction. Just stick with it. It feels like this is definitely things seem to be getting better every year. But I do have a question as someone who's kind of, like you said, been through the NCAA tournament and made it to Omaha. How do you adjust? Because when you were with the program, it was almost it was kind of annually you get successful in the postseason. It's been a while now since the program's been successful in the postseason. How do you grow back? How do they grow back into that? Because I think that's the biggest concern with our fans. I don't think anyone can knock being a national seed, right? It was really like you got to finish the deal then.
Absolutely, and that's always the goal. Is you obviously have to have certain goals throughout the year, which I said it. I even tweeted it before the season started last year. Is look, they need to host a home regional, right? And that's step number one. When I was there at Miami, we did that every year, and that's the biggest thing. Playing at home, it's a huge advantage. Number one. Number two, you kind of have your home field and you feel more comfortable. And then you also get easier opponents. So you're not traveling to a Mississippi State. You're not traveling to one of these SEC schools that, you're really not going to make it out of there. It's very difficult, at least, to make it out of there. You might, but, your odds are not high. So when I went there, in my 4 years, we hadn't really had success prior to me getting there. It was really my freshman class that kind of brought the program back to Omaha in a way and bringing us back to the postseason success. The guys like Zach Collins and Willie Abreu, Brian Garcia, like Romy Gonzalez, Brandon Lopez, the list goes on with guys that were, really good and that, are still playing baseball now. So I think it takes that level of player, number one. Number two, when you go through every position, everyone was from South Florida, or at least for the most part. Chris Barr is a South Florida guy. Zach Collins, South Florida guy. I was a South Florida guy. Brandon Lopez was a South Florida guy. Edgar Michelangeli was a South Florida guy. Romy Gonzalez, another South Florida guy. You go across the entire field, everyone was from South Florida. So we had a little bit of a bond, I guess, in a way, because we grew up our whole childhood, right? So I played with Willie Abreu on the Snappers when I was, 12, 13 years old. So, I grew up with these guys, and it's just a bond that I think separated us. And I guess that's something that I maybe see lacking right now. And it's not, something that's Gino's fault. I just think it's, something that we need to focus on is getting those types of recruits. But again, it's not easy to win in the postseason. It's just not. I mean, we struggled some games, and we made it out alive, but it was a struggle. It wasn't easy. So, you got to fight and you got to figure out a way to win, and that's the biggest thing that they just need to do. It's that simple. It's an execution game. It's just you need to execute in the postseason.
I think it's also interesting that a lot of people don't realize that, when you play ACC ball and you play some of these teams that, you play year in and year out, like the Rutgers of the world, and some of those guys stick around, right? And so you get to see them a few years in a row. You get to kind of, see, their pitching staff is some of the guys that are still there. You kind of know some of their tendencies, from year in and year out. If you're playing a 3-game series against, Pitt or Boston College or whoever it is, you see some of these arms, especially out of the bullpen, a few times. Then you start to it all changes right when you go to the playoffs, because in the playoffs it's not a 3-game series. It's win or go home, or if it's double elimination, you're typically not playing the same team. So I think that you hit the nail on the head, but I think it's also the fact that you're facing someone new. You're facing guys that you haven't seen before, whether it's hitters for your pitching staff, whether it's pitchers for the lineup. I mean, it changes everything on when it comes to playing, and the playoffs are different, like you said, man. It's a different atmosphere, different attitude, different mentality, and sometimes if you're not locked in, I always say this, right? I always say this: winning a state title. I won a state title in high school, and we weren't necessarily the best team in the state, but we got hot at the right time, and that was it, right? Like, it's all she wrote. If you get hot, Ole Miss is a perfect example. Ole Miss got hot in the playoffs, and they ran through it after being one of the last teams to get in.
Too soon, Jazz.
Yeah, no, and it is what it is, but it is what it is. And so you got to, hats off to them. They were at one point the number 1 team in the country. So I think that there's talent there. It's just a matter of getting hot and playing good baseball down the stretch. So,
but that goes to show you just how competitive college baseball is, right? And how slim the margin is between an Ole Miss, who won it and was the last seed, and a Tennessee, who I don't even think they made it out of their own regional, and was the number 1 team in the country the entire year for the most part. So the margins in college baseball have become so thin in terms of the difference in talent that you have to execute. So even a Rutgers can beat you on any given weekend. They have the talent to do it. So obviously Miami has better talent, and they should win 9 out of 10 times. But it happens, and when you get to the postseason, you don't have that one game to mess up. You got to be, almost perfect if you really want to get to where you want to get to. And, that's kind of what has plagued Miami, I think, is that, they haven't really executed the way that they would have liked to. And that's the biggest thing. Again, it's execution. And I think the bigger thing in college baseball that I notice is that every conference has a different style of play in a way. So in the SEC, you have kind of the power arms, the guys throwing a lot harder. The ACC is sort of a mix between the Pac and the SEC. They do have big arms and guys that throw hard, but they also have a lot of guys that like to throw breaking balls, and it's mostly like sliders and stuff like that. But then when you go to the West Coast and it's a Pac team, they throw a lot of changeups, a ton of changeups, and they play a lot more small ball. They're defensively like super sound. So different styles of play sometimes don't match the roster you have, and you have to adjust to that. Like I remember this vividly is we were playing Long Beach State in a regional. So my first at bat, I get 3 straight changeups in a row. Like, I had a good changeup, and I remember I hit a ball kind of off the end of the bat to left field. My next at bat, the same thing. I got like 4 changeups in a row. So my next at bat, I'm like, damn, I need to sit on a changeup here. And I got a changeup, and I ended up hitting a double in the gap, and that's how we ended up scoring the tying run with that. So, it's little things like that the coaching staff shouldn't have to tell you. It's stuff that you got to pick up based on experience, based on, being logical, using your brain during the game and seeing what, this guy's trying to do to you at the plate. So that's something that they really need to, as players, you got to take upon yourself, and you got to be smart. You got to study the game, and you got to know sort of tendencies and these little things, and have a high baseball IQ. So, there's certain guys that obviously have that on the roster now, but I think they need a little bit more of that. I think Yo-Yo's a great example of that. That, he sits on pitches, he drives balls the other way, he knows kind of when to get after and when to kind of hold back. So from an offensive standpoint, I think that he's done a good job, but they need more of that, in my opinion. Guys that can deliver in the postseason.
Absolutely. I'm going to be honest with you. Me and Vish could probably do this all day with you, man. We can sit here and we can talk ball all day. We can talk about the snapper days. I don't know. Vish doesn't know about that, but we can talk about the snapper days. But kind of shifting gears a little bit. I know that there's a lot of people that obviously got a kick out of what they saw yesterday, right? They got excited for it. I think everybody got excited for it. I think I got excited for it. And what I'm talking about is the new renderings for the new stadium for the Miami Hurricanes football program. I think the first question that I have, and I know that Vish and Danny have questions for you on it. Is this for real, man? Are we talking about the possibility of having a stadium close to home, right, close to the school. But not only that, but something so badass as what we saw yesterday, man. Talk to a little bit about how that all came together, and how close we are to really seeing something like that for the Canes.
Yeah. So in terms of time frame, I think the process is very similar to what is going on at Mel Reese right now. I mean, we're gonna have to go through the same process. That's just how it works. So whatever their time frame is, I think is a realistic time frame for us. And that's just the way that our kind of government works here in Miami. So same process. I think it'll be a very similar time frame. And we're obviously excited to have this project. We've kind of taken it upon ourselves because we feel like the Canes are the staple of Miami. I mean, you can have the Dolphins, you can have the Heat, you can have the Marlins, but this town really revolves around Canes football. When they're rolling and they're hot, I mean, it's bigger than any other sporting event pretty much in Miami for sure, and if not the state of Florida, right? So Miami's cooking. Everyone's kind of watching us. So it's something that I think the Hard Rock is great. It's a great stadium, and I'm not anti Hard Rock at all. People think that if you support the stadium that you're against Hard Rock, which is actually the contrary. I think what Steve Ross and these guys at Hard Rock have done is phenomenal. The F1 track, I went to it. It's unbelievable. They've done a great job remodeling that entire facility, but it's the Dolphins facility, right? It's not the Canes facility. And I spoke about this actually earlier with Peter Ruiz on another podcast. But financially, how do we sustain the athletic program long term? So the university has put in a lot of resources, a lot of money, and a lot of time into kind of getting Coach Cristobal, hiring Dan Radakovich, putting money into facilities that are going to start popping up now on the university. So there's a lot of sustainability issues that if you don't have monetary value coming in, you can't sustain this long term. And as Canes fans, I think that that's what we really need is what is going to sustain this program long term. And I don't think it's renting a stadium at Hard Rock. I mean, there's only so much money you can make from that. There's only so much revenue to go around. I know at a certain point they get capped off of what they can make, and that's kind of why you've seen this athletic program, not be willing to spend the dollars that maybe they're spending now. So, in my opinion, that's the biggest thing that kind of motivated this project is how do we bring the Canes back to national relevancy, and then how do you sustain that for the long term, right? So those are the two biggest things that I see. And if we want to be a powerhouse for 10, 20, 30 years, then that's kind of the direction you have to go, and you got to bring in your own revenue, and you got to be profitable, at least for football, right? So that's the biggest thing. It's not a knock on Hard Rock. It's that the Canes need their own home, and they're the staple of this town, so they deserve it.
Rich, you got something there for Johnny?
Yeah, just a question on the finances. So how would that work? I know when we were in the Orange Bowl, the city of Miami was the people taking their big cut off of the revenue, and actually revenue increase going to Hard Rock because the Dolphins gave the Hurricanes a better deal. So how would this work? Because you mentioned you have to work through this process with the city, and we're all Miamians. We know how the city of Miami works, so that's going to be fun for you. Yeah. But I guess in terms of like long-term goal, what is I'm assuming based on what you're talking about with the Dolphins kind of capping the revenue, so we definitely wouldn't want to cap on that. But are you getting friendly, I guess, overtures from the city in terms of making sure because they're going to partially own this. They certainly own Tropical Park. There's going to have to be some money going to them, or do you think we can get a good deal out of them?
Yeah, well, I think we can get a good deal because at the end of the day, it benefits the city in terms of creating new jobs. Economic development is going to go up, and then that area of town is. I mean, if you go to Tropical now and you go to those soccer fields, not the ones that are the mini ones with the turf, but I don't know if you guys have been there. There's some soccer fields there in the back, kind of by the lake.
Yeah. I play every Thursday night over there. I play every Thursday night softball.
Yeah, so I've played flag football there for a long time there at Tropical Park. So I'm very familiar. I go there pretty much once a week, so I'm very familiar with the land. I just feel like it's somewhat underutilized. So there's a lot of parts that aren't necessary, like those soccer fields back there. I feel like don't really get used that much. I think they're actually somewhat abandoned in a way. So I think this project would kind of increase the usability of the park without destroying, kind of what the park is used for now, which is a lot of high school stuff, a lot of community things. So that's kind of like why the design is why it like the way it is that we want to make sure that people can still use the park, that they don't have to pay for it, it's free. This is kind of, in terms of financing, it's obviously UM would have to finance part of the stadium. I think that we would obviously jump in, as we've said, and we would get other people to jump in as well. If you look at other stadiums, people are dying to jump into projects like that. So again, this is not a 1 year, 2 year solution. So yeah, maybe the first couple of years UM doesn't make as much money as they would want to from the project, but to sustain this program long term, that's the solution, right? So maybe you give up a little bit in the beginning to gain more in terms of longevity. So at the end of the day, this Hard Rock lease is going to end and we're going to have to renegotiate a contract with them. So what better way to do that than to have your own stadium, potentially at least, as a bargaining chip, if at worst case scenario. But I do think that this is the long-term solution for the Canes. I don't think there's really much better solution other than, if maybe Miami Freedom Park wants to do something there, and we would absolutely love to join them if it's a possibility. It's just they would obviously have to expand their capacity to 70,000 or 60,000 or whatever it may be. So that's another option also, which we've obviously internally discussed, but we'll see kind of what happens with that.
Yeah, it's hard to the soccer stadiums are so much are very different. People think
Yeah.
just the needs are completely different. So we've actually seen a lot of like MLS teams just we need our own small stadium. We can't play in the NFL stage; it's too big. It ruins. So yeah, definitely. Obviously, if that
Yeah,
makes sense,
I
we
think
do
their
it. But
stadium's 25,000 and
Yeah, it's too
ours
small.
Yeah.
would be, obviously 3 times that. So
yeah, and then for the from the soccer side of things, like that playing in this big thing where you only have like the first few rows full is not great for them. So generally, that's why it doesn't work. That's a great point though on that you made on terms of even just having it as a bargaining chip. Because if you recall, like, I'm sure obviously you do, but for people listen, we were still in the Orange Bowl when we got. That's why we got a sweet deal from the Dolphins. They were trying to woo us out of our stadium.
yeah,
So we had the option of staying. So they had to sweeten the deal to get us to move. So
yeah.
when this lease
I mean,
deal
if
comes
you-
back up, if there's not another option, they kind of have us.
Yeah,
then.
exactly. And the thing is, obviously, I mean, it's a good deal for the Dolphins because they're making money off of it. So if it was that bad of a deal for them and that good of a deal for us, then they probably wouldn't want to renew that contract. So then at that point, then where are we gonna go? So I think that's the biggest thing is like how do we sustain the athletic department long term? I know I've said it a lot of times, but that's really the crux of what this needs to be.
Yeah, it's important to drive that message and that point home. I think that's the most important thing is sustainability. So we totally get it.
Yeah.
Before
That
we,
and then the students.
well, that's true, right? Like it's easier for them to get there as your old man said earlier yesterday. It's 7 minutes away, right? 7 minutes away from the stadium, so it's a lot easier to get there. Before we move forward, Ernie says hello, man. He says hi.
I haven't seen or talked to Ernie in so long. Tell him I say hi.
Will do. He's doing well over at Westminster. So he's the head coach at Westminster Academy. So good for him.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
DJ, do you have any questions for Johnny Ruiz?
Yeah, was there a specific goal in mind on how, you wanted or the people involved wanted the stadium to look? Did you guys model it after anything, or did you just kind of leave it up to the developers and they would get input?
So I helped the developers in terms of what I thought it should look like. So putting it on the lake in the layout is kind of a combination between me and the developers that we kind of thought would be really cool. So we did take some stuff from the Orange Bowl. We took some stuff from SoFi Stadium, from AT&T. We took some stuff from Baylor also. I don't know if you've seen Baylor's new stadium, but it's really cool. They have some cool features. We took some stuff from the Milwaukee Bucks arena, some concepts of fan engagement and stuff that they have there. So there's a lot of stuff that actually is going to come out in the next couple of weeks. that you guys are going to see in terms of renderings, right? So I said it before, that was only the first one, and I just wanted everyone to see kind of the look and feel more than like, this seat is going to be specifically here or this palm tree is going to be there. Like those things can move with the click of a mouse, right? So it was more the look and feel that I was going for with that tweet, and obviously showing everyone kind of what was going on. So I just wanted to make that clear because some people are like, oh, the seats aren't close enough, or the angle
Right.
of the seats isn't right.
You got to
Right.
close it
Again, all
off
those
so
things,
the sound can
the
stay in.
sound,
Yeah, right.
exactly, like all those things were not really in the scope of that design. Again, as we progress, those things will change and they'll be more fine-tuned, and we'll get into more detail. That was these guys literally in 3 weeks. That's kind of what they came up with. So it wasn't a lot of time, and they did a great job. And we're actually going to do some really cool stuff, like with virtual drones flying through the stadium, going inside, showing the entire park. So we have a lot more coming out that you guys are going to really like. This was just a very basic sort of picture that I wanted to show it just so everyone sees the progress, because again, this is a stadium for the people. This isn't something that is only for us or only for It's something that the community needs to embrace and enjoy. So that's why I wanted people to be at least involved in the process of seeing what's going on. And I do look at all the feedback that people give me, and I do try to input it as much as possible. Obviously, if it's something crazy that people are saying that doesn't make any sense, I'm not going to listen to it. But if people want seats closer to the stadium, that's obviously noted, and I'll make that adjustment as much as possible. Obviously within the realm of what we can do. If people really don't like a certain thing that's going on with the stadium, I can obviously adjust that, and I'll do my best to do it. But I want people to engage with it, and that's why during this process we've been so transparent with showing you, this is step one, step two, step three, and we've listened, and that's why we've used kind of Twitter as our platform so that people can engage with it and kind of share their opinions.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. I think I know one more question from me, and then if you guys want to kind of top it off, I know another question that a lot of people have. And look, we're Miamians, right? We're born and raised here. We grew up. We know the Tropical Park area. We know just the Miami area as a whole, that Westchester area, and so on. A lot of people have question marks on parking and getting to the stadium, and they're thinking that it's going to be just too crazy, right? The traffic is going to be nuts, and I think people don't realize how nuts the traffic is everywhere in Miami. Number one, and number
Yep.
two, how many ways there is to get in to Tropical Park. It's not only the 826. It's not only Bird Road. It's Miller. It's some of the the other smaller little streets, 82nd Avenue. And I know I'm throwing these things out there for some of the people that listen to us that don't live in Miami, but it's really not that hard or feasible for you to get 60,000 people, 50,000 fans
Yeah.
into a place like Tropical Park, right?
Yeah, and you need to have a little bit of an imagination. I know people sometimes struggle with that, but it is possible. I mean, it's a huge park that I think that there was a festival maybe a couple months ago that had 50,000 people, and I didn't hear any rumblings or complaints about traffic or whatever. And again, they play on Saturdays, so the traffic shouldn't be as big of an issue. And then also, at some point, there's going to be some sort of ramp created specifically for that getting in and out of there, or at least there should be, kind of how they built now for the Hard Rock Stadium, where they have that overpass. I don't think you need an overpass. It's actually a lot easier to build some sort of passageway into the middle of the park to relieve the traffic than people think. So there's already the setup. The beauty is the highway's right there, so you don't really have to build a huge extension to get off of there. So I think it's very feasible. It's not something that's going to be super burdensome to do in terms of construction of a new street or a new passageway. It's actually relatively easy to do. It obviously is going to cost money to do it, but if it makes sense, then people are going to want to vote for it and to do it. So I don't think the traffic will really be a huge concern. It's better than the Freedom Park traffic situation. And frankly, Hard Rock has gotten pretty bad with traffic, in my opinion. I mean, you're stuck in traffic there no matter how you slice it. So, living in Miami, you deal with traffic. I think, Jazz, you nailed it. No matter where you go, no matter what time, there's going to be, a certain level of traffic. And that's just something you got to be accustomed to. I will add something though that I don't think anyone's really mentioned or thought of is a lot of the traffic that's going to be going to the stadium will be students. Like you're going to have a lot more students going so they can walk. There's also going to be buses going from the university to the site, which will relieve a lot of the traffic pressure that's going in and out. And right now, what they do is they send the students from campus to Hard Rock. That's like almost an hour drive on buses. So, you're going to have a 7 to 10 minute drive to Tropical Park from campus. So that's going to relieve a lot of pressure in terms of traffic. And then you're also going to have people that can park on campus if they really want to and take one of those same shuttles or buses to the stadium. It's only 10 minutes. So, you got to use your imagination with these projects a little bit. There's projects that really have serious parking issues. I don't think this is one of them. There's, a ton of parking. We're going to have close to 16,000 parking spots, which is a lot for a stadium of that size. So I really don't see that being a huge issue.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're all excited about it. I think the renderings got everybody going. We really can't wait to see what's next. What you all come out with. HKS, did I say that right? HKS, right?
Yeah.
HKS architecture comes out with. I think we're really excited about all of that. Johnny, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. It's great to have you on. You're always welcome. You're part of the family now. So whenever you want to come on and talk football, talk baseball, talk stadium, whatever you want to talk about, man. As long as you talk about the Canes, man, we'd love to have you on, man. So
Jazz and I are always trying to wedge baseball into the show.
We're always trying to talk baseball. Always, man.
Definitely a great excuse for us to talk baseball.
Yeah, I can go with baseball for a lot longer than I can with football or stadium talk. That's for sure.
I bet you can, man. Again, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, we truly appreciate it. Well, hopefully we'll have you on soon again.
Awesome. All right. Have a good night.
You too, bud. That was awesome, and that was exciting. We got him on last minute. So for those of you that don't know, I used to coach Johnny in for the Snappers. He mentioned the Snappers Travel League baseball when he was right before he got into high school and his freshman year in high school as well. So kid was an absolute, superstar at that point. He obviously played for a while with the Canes as well, and he was a really great baseball player for the Canes also. So we truly appreciate him coming on and talking a little bit about the stadium and some other stuff. We go from one superstar guest to another surprise superstar guest. Bring that cat on, man. Bring fam on. On.
Ain't no superstar here, dog.
Yeah. Look at you with the light on over there, jealous as hell with the sun. Jesus, man.
Yep.
What's up, Kessel Hawk? How you doing, man?
Yeah, it's just another day of work, man. It's crazy. I finally got a hold of my boss today. Flo finally called me, bro. We were playing phone tag the last 3 days. We finally got to talk. So
times are crazy right now.
Yeah, man. It's busy. It's real busy right now. So
it definitely is, man. We just got off with Johnny Ruiz. Made it on last second. Surprise. I was telling these guys. I think I've told you. I used to coach little Johnny in high school and travel ball. So
little Johnny's not so little anymore.
Yeah, he's not. He's definitely not. But he was a stud then. He was a stud then. So you were talking a little bit about the stadium. Kind of gave us a little bit of a roundabout of what the next process is and why they're doing it and how they're financials and all that stuff. So it was pretty cool. But I mean, I'm looking forward to. I would love to have a new stadium for the Canes, man. It'll be a lot closer to you too, Max.
Yeah, real close.
I mean, it's closer to the airport you would land in. So.
Right, exactly.
Depends which airport I fly into.
That's true.
You
can't be cross country into Lauderdale.
I think I actually am.
You actually can. So.
Yeah, I think you can.
I'm pretty sure that's where I'm flying in for the Florida State game.
Oh man! Well, you're closer to that stadium.
You're okay. So you're okay then. Is it actually? It's about in the middle, I think.
Yeah. Well, it's Hollywood. It's not that far. No, it's Hollywood. So.
Yeah,
Hollywood.
I am flying into Fort Lauderdale. That's too funny.
Hey man, so we wanted to. We're kind of gonna finish it off with a little bit of. I don't really want to talk about scrimmage because at this point we don't really know what the hell's going on in the scrimmage, right? Let's just be honest, right? They shut that down real quick, and we hear little bits here and there. Are you surprised by anything that you're hearing? Are you surprised by stuff that you're not hearing? Is it kind of like on point with what we should be hearing?
I mean, I guess the correct answer is I'm not surprised with anything I'm hearing because uh it's Mario. So there are some guys that are doing really, really good that haven't been mentioned once, like the entire fall camp so far. Uh, so I'm not really surprised about kind of what I'm hearing and really what I'm not hearing. Um, I'm sure you know, Jazz. Like Mario cut the whole media off this week.
I was going to mention that. I was like, what do you think about that? Are you bothered by that? Because I know there's a lot of people I know on our chat are like, oh, well, why do that? Why keep it so secret? I mean,
Because they're
there's a reason,
game
right?
planning. Like Mario said that they were going to start game planning like a day or two into this week, and it just like who knows? There could be somebody at media that's getting paid by another university to tell them what they see. Like, why should we care that the media is not allowed there? I know, like your media, right? But you care more. Like
Sort of.
a lot of media companies care more about their news than the team, but like with you guys, you care more about the team than you do your access. So it doesn't really affect you because if you think it's better for the team, if Coach Mario thinks it's better for the team, then you don't care. We're the same way, like over with Miami Flow Media. Like we don't care because we don't really call ourselves a media company, even though like we kind of are now. But we just want what's best for the team. And if Coach Mario thinks media not being around is best for the team, then that's what we want. So I'm not shocked at kind of some of the things that I'm hearing. I think everything that's being said has a purpose, and you can kind of catch some things when these coaches are talking.
You bring up a good point, and I want to get Vicious and DJ's take on this also, because you bring up a good point about not caring, and I don't care, but I really do care, and I'll tell you why. It's funny. I'm gonna flip it around for you. I care because when there's practice that's open to everybody, and everybody can sit there and talk about and debate about who's playing well, who's not, who's dropping passes, who's not, who's doing this and who's doing that, then the fans, and quite frankly, you know where I'm going with this. The fans get crazy. They start to, they start to what's the word that I'm looking for? Conspiracy theories, right? They start all these theories where, well, then that obviously means that, and I'm just throwing out a name. Daz Worsham is actually going to be the starting X. So it's like, they start to kind of think about all these crazy scenarios that could happen. Oh wait, hold on a second. Elijah Roberts got more snaps today than Chance Williams, or Chance Williams was that left end, starting. He was starting with the one, and it's so people just start going crazy, and then you hear all these crazy, ridiculous things on Twitter, on social media, and it drives guys like us crazy sometimes because we kind of laugh at it, right? Because nobody knows what the hell's going on, really. Even if you're there at practice now, there's nobody at practice, nobody available to go in and be like and kind of be this conspiracy theories about what's going on in practice or who dropped the ball 15 minutes into the practice, and I think it kind of quiets everything down. There's still your fans that are just, I get it, they're diehards and we love them for that, but they're absolutely nuts, and they start to think of these things that just kind of blow my mind. I'm like, where did you come up with that? And you see a little bit less of that, and I kind of like it. It's a little bit of a change of pace, and I'm pretty excited about it.
Wait, so you're telling me that like the 15 minutes of practice that you watch, Jazz, you know everything that happened the entirety of the practice?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
And I'm gonna write something about it, and I'm gonna tell you who should be at wide receiver instead of quarterback also, because that's what I see out of.
I didn't say it, you did.
Don't get me started on that. Real quick, I want to kind of go around the horn before we finish this off, because Johnny went a little bit long, but 10 days away from the first game of the season. I know it's Bethune Cookman, but and obviously we'll have a nice show next week. And we got the boss on next week, by the way, Max. We got the boss on next week, so we're pretty excited about having him on next week. But
he fit time into his schedule
I don't know. He figured it out, so much love to him, man.
He must have paid somebody off to get that time.
I don't ask questions, I don't ask questions. I just we just get it done. But kind of what what you think we can expect these next 10 days from a team perspective? Are we going to kind of finally know who's going to be on the depth chart, who's going to be your starting, your starting cornerback alongside Tyreek? Is Tyreek going to be actually in the star instead more? And obviously, we've spoken about this. You've spoken about this on your show. Flo has as well. What can you kind of expect? And now I'll go around the horn with DJ and Vish as well for the next 10 days.
Nothing, because we're not going to hear anything because it's closed to the media.
Yes. I like
No,
that.
what, like, as far as depth chart goes?
Yes.
If I had to just speed through it?
Yeah, do you think we'll get that? You think we'll get that kind of out in the open?
Probably like the morning of the first game, if I had to guess. I mean, I have like in my head what I think the depth chart's going to be. But again, I'm not at practice.
So put it this way, since we don't have time for the whole entire team, give me your potential starting five on the offensive line. Who do you think is going to start on the offensive line?
Campbell at left tackle, Rivers at left guard, Clark at center, Oluwaseun at right guard, and Scaife at right tackle.
Wow, Scaife at right tackle.
We're talking game one. That's what I think the game one lineup is, unless you move Rivers to right tackle or Campbell to right tackle, and then it'd be Sagapolu at one of the other guard spots.
Yeah. Vish, who's your starting defensive ends? I mean, starting defensive line. So your 4 defensive linemen.
So start in the middle, which is Leonard Taylor for sure.
All right.
Better be. I think we still get Jafari Harvey on one side. Maybe, I'm not sure exactly where they're going to put Lichtenstein, but I think he's going to start. Probably at the other end, I think.
Take this guy's credentials. I'm just messing with you, Vish. I'm just messing with you.
At least he didn't ask me about recruits. Know the players on the team, so at least he didn't ask me about recruits. And I think Harrison Hudd will be the other tackle.
All right, so maybe Lichtenstein.
But I also, echoing what Max says, the first what Max says, the first game, it doesn't. We're gonna all hand ring. They're gonna rotate the whole team.
Yeah, they're gonna play a lot.
Cookman. And honestly,
they'll know. Fans care about that crap.
I think they're subbing Danny in on that game too.
Danny.
Damn, all right. I like that. I like little action, Bethune Cookman. Love to see it.
DJ, who do you think is your starting 3 at wide receiver? X, Y, and Z.
Damn, I wanted that one.
Smith, Ladson, and Restrepo. I don't know about Ladson, but I feel confident in Smith and Restrepo for sure.
Is that what you're gonna go with?
No.
Ooh, wait! Now I gotta ask you. Now you've intrigued me.
I would swap Ladson and Redding.
All right, yeah, Ladson was my only not sure.
Well, I think that's the surprise though. Like if you really think about it, right? A lot of people are not talking about him, but
because he's been hurt.
Those are things that are starting to come out from the people that really know what's going on. Is that Redding is really playing really well. I loved Redding his first year when he was here. I thought he had a lot of potential, so I'm glad that he's healthy enough now to really get consideration to be in the starting lineup. So I like that. I think at the end of the day, you're going to see Romello a lot too. I think Romello's going to, as long as he's healthy.
He's going to take somebody's spot like midseason.
Yeah. As long as he's healthy, and I mentioned this on the chat the other day, I think Rashard Smith is going to play a lot in the backfield also. Because and not only because of the injuries, I just think he was going to anyways. So I like Rashard. I think he's the most not unique, but he's a Swiss Army knife, man. He can do so many things that I'm really excited to see what he's going to do. I'm going to go with the defensive backs. I think that's another intriguing one. There's so many things that we can kind of throw out there, but without thinking that Tyreek Stevenson is going to play a star, because I know we've mentioned that a lot, potentially the best star that we have on the team. I'm just going to say right off the bat, I'm going to go Tyreek Stevenson and Daryl Porter, and maybe to Corey Couch, right? Those are like my 3 cornerbacks, but I think Daryl Porter is definitely going to be one of the guys there. And on the line, I think a lot of people aren't talking enough about Antonio Moultrie, because I think as long as he's healthy, because I know he was a little nicked up early. As long as he's healthy, I think he's going to get a lot of playing time as well. He's going to get a lot of snaps because he's versatile, just like Mesidor. I think those guys can go inside and outside a little bit. So I like Moultrie He was a stud at UAB, so I'm not sure why people aren't talking enough about him. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see now in the next 10 days, just like college football's back, right? And I talked to this about Vish. I talked about this with Vish and Danny. Like, Danny covers a little bit of Big Ten football, so he gets to see Nebraska and Northwestern this weekend. How excited are you about just football being back? Not even having to wait 10 days for the K's, but in 3 days you're going to get some college football.
That's me.
That was for you, Max. Yeah.
Oh, I'm just excited, bro. Like Saturdays on Zoom with the boys, watching every other game that's not Miami. Like it's gonna be awesome. I just can't wait. Like I'm gonna watch Duquesne play Florida State. I just don't care. It's football. Like football's back. Like
Yeah.
I watch preseason NFL because it's football, right? It was actually funny on Saturday. I was with my parents and my sister, and she was like, "Max, what's your favorite sport? To watch now?" And I said football. She was like, "What about second?" I said, "Well, college football and then the NFL." And she was like, "It's not baseball." Like I always thought it was baseball because Jazz. That was a sport I played the most
Of
growing up.
course.
And I'm like, it's up there, but no, it's third now. Like football is like, I mean, we all do this 24/7, right? So, like Kane Idaho said, "Do I ever sleep?" Uh, I'm like Mario, man. I don't have time to sleep.
I have time. Only 2 hours of sleep and 16 shots of Cuban cafecito.
Yeah, I do all natural though, no caffeine.
Wow. Oh, no naturals, all caffeine. I like it. Max, thanks for
T-shirt's
coming
still
on.
available if you guys want to buy it.
Oh yeah, the t-shirts are still available. Make sure you guys check out all the Miami Flow media shows. Is that good? Is that good to say? Miami Flow media shows? That makes sense?
Sure.
Yeah. What the hell,
Flow
right?
Empire.
Yeah, the Flow. You got the website.
Check out the new website, MiamiFlowMedia.com. That's where you're gonna. We just added our guy Zach as a writer yesterday. We've got 2 more announcements. Probably both of them coming this week.
Awesome.
Some massive announcements coming this week. Wink, wink. So it's gonna be pretty exciting. And I heard there's a really cool show on Sunday.
Who has a show on Sundays?
Someone's having a special show on Sunday, I was told.
The boss?
I don't know, somebody.
All right. Well, tune in for that on MiamiFlowMedia.com. Max Stout is on whose show is it on Sunday? Is it Flow's?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, why are you throwing these curveballs at me, dude? Jesus. Flow show on Sunday. Maxed out. Well, Average Kings fans on Monday. I know they're moving over.
Now.
I know they're moving over to the Wednesdays. We got a big announcement as well. As a matter of fact, we got a big announcement as well. We'll put it out on Twitter. But we might as well throw it out there now as well. We are moving to Mondays.
Oh, I was hoping there was going to be some shifting.
Yes, we are moving over to Monday nights as well. Danny, by the way, we're moving over to Mondays. I know that we did announce it. We did announce it, and Blue he's not here on the show today because he was doing some national coverage. But yeah, we're moving over to Monday nights now. So make sure you guys tune in on Monday nights, where it will be on Monday nights. Maxed out on Tuesdays. Wednesdays is the Average Canes fan. Cafecito and Canes on Thursdays. I think they do a Tuesday show. John does a Tuesday show also. Tuesdays and Thursdays for Cafecito and Canes. And we do it all back again the following week.
And
baby.
Sebastian Lane on Thursday.
And Sebastian Lane on that's right. And Sebastian Lane on Thursday.
It's gonna be fun.
We got you covered every single day of the week. Friday, as my brother JC says, we will rest. But he says that for Sundays. But anyways, I digress. This show's getting too long already. Max, thanks for coming on, brother. We appreciate it.
Deuces.
Thank you, Max.
Yep. Have a good one, you guys.
We'll see you, man. Oh, I'm going to give a shout out to one of our sponsors really quick before we go, because I know we got a show at 9:30. Hitting the Apex is coming on. But let's talk about Manscaped really quick, Vish. Got to throw out one of our special sponsors, and we'll talk Prize Picks as well. Fellas, fantasy football draft season is right around the corner. CeeDee Lamb is good, but have you seen these beautiful balls? It's time to get your snake looking right for this snake draft with the sponsors of today's show, Manscaped. The leaders in below-the-waist grooming have created a championship lineup with their Performance Package 4.0. Join the 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get ready for kickoff by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with the code 5RSN. That's the number 5. RSN. Look at Pete Davidson there using the I don't know. I guess that's the 4.0. I ordered mine recently, so I can't wait to tell you guys all about it, all about my experience with the Manscaped 4.0, baby. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code 5RSN at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping, code 5RSN. It's time to put the PP back in PPR and get a grip on your pigskin this season with Manscaped. Real quick, our second sponsor of the night is Prize Picks. PrizePicks.com, the official daily fantasy app of 5 Reasons Sports Network. Make sure you're using the code 5, F-I-V-E, for Prize Picks will match your initial deposit up to $100. Use the code 5 when you sign up. You don't even have to spend it all at once. You can play the NFL, Major League Baseball, the NBA. You can do it all, and you don't even have to you don't have to spend all your money at once. You can mix and match your players as well. Here's how it works. You pick 2 to 5 players. Then you play the over-under on individual categories for each player. It all depends on how much you want to win, is how many players you pick to play. Make sure you sign up. Go to prizepicks.com, use the code 5, F-I-V-E, and they will match your initial deposit up to $100. Prizepicks.com. Guys, we got to get out of here. We've got this Hitting the Apex starting in negative 2 minutes. Make sure you check us out right here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Hitting the Apex starts in 2 seconds. See you guys there. Go Canes. Adios.